Coming up on Tech News today, Nokia and Microsoft are getting, well, it's not married. It's not even really dating. We think they're kind of friends with benefits. Anyway, we'll explain that. Also, should the internet get any credit for what happened in Egypt? And the VP8 patent wars have begun. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, February 11th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Mailroute.info. Mailroute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free at Mailroute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day, kept fresh for you, so you can kick it around. Yeah.
Ow! Kick it.
We'll put it up. You kick it.
Kick it.
Joining us in the kicking from PCMag.com, Mr. Iyaz Akhtar.
Hey, guys. How's everybody doing?
We are doing well. It's a Liquid Friday.
Liquid Friday, so it's
I'm prepared this time.
getting ready for the weekend, but not before we get through a lot of interesting news.
Wow. So everybody was up at 3 a.m. this morning for the Nokia Microsoft announcement?
Who wouldn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
been?
Yeah, there were lines out on the street
Yeah, more lines than for a Verizon iPhone.
for some reason.
It was 3 a.m. Eastern, so it was
It
actually,
was actually
like,
midnight Pacific.
It was doable
Yeah.
where we are if you wanted to, stay up fairly late
I was
on
feeling a
Thursday
little
night.
tickle in my throat, so I went to bed early.
Well, we were up early on Thursday morning
Yeah.
for the Verizon launch.
We should have volunteered to
wasn't.
cover the Nokia Microsoft announcement live.
That would have been great. Yeah, I would have enjoyed that a lot.
But we are, of course, spoiler alert, Nokia Microsoft announcement means we got what we all expected. Nokia is adopting Windows Phone 7 on their platform. It becomes Nokia's smartphone platform, so they will continue to use Symbian on their feature phones and slowly phase out Symbian. Microsoft will provide the web services stack, including Bing, for all Nokia smartphones. Nokia's content and application store will be integrated with Microsoft Marketplace, so Ovi and Marketplace get merged, and Symbian becomes what they're calling a franchise platform, which means dead. Nokia also posted video. Oh yeah, that's the chart. There's a chart that shows the plan for Symbian, which is basically to run out over time.
It becomes a very thin line.
They didn't put
at
years
the
on
end.
the chart.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
just-
what a franchise platform looks like in a graph form.
I'm glad they're
I
not running
see.
McDonald's. We wouldn't. Well, maybe that'd be a good thing, but we wouldn't have any more McDonald's after a while. If
No.
that was their franchise.
Franchise food.
Nokia posted video of the Microsoft partnership online, so you get to see that amazing moment that will probably be turned into a made-for-TV movie when Stephen Elop welcomes Steve Ballmer to the stage to talk about the partnership. This is a very significant partnership. They are not just saying we're going to run Windows Phone 7. They're saying all of our smartphones are Windows Phone 7. We're going to provide Nokia Maps. Nokia owns Navtech. We're going to provide Nokia Maps to Bing. They're tying themselves up with Microsoft very tightly here.
Steve Ballmer kind of scares me. When I watch him in videos, I'm just like, man, that guy could just beat up another guy, couldn't he?
He really could. Don't let that distract you. That's what happened to Stephen Elop.
Well, I just wonder if it has something to do with Nokia being like, all right, Microsoft, we're with you. We're with you.
Cheers.
Well, Nokia has been avoiding Microsoft for years and years and years. They wouldn't run Windows Mobile. They were going to be above that, and people have really taken this poorly. In fact, analysts are saying that layoffs of up to 20,000 people may happen. Elop did allude to that there might be redundancies,
Right.
But the analysts are saying it's going to be stiff. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs in this. And Nokia workers were not happy. Symbian has been their cause celeb. It has been their beacon, and MeeGo was sort of the young Symbian. And both of these platforms are being minimized. MeeGo was their smartphone platform, at least it was going to be. They say they'll put out one more mobile device, probably a tablet, like a Nokia N900, by the end of this year. And then MeeGo goes into some vague sort of, not as part of another broad smartphone platform strategy, but as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah,
So
that sounds suspicious. That's going to be dead before you know it. But Elop used to work for Microsoft. I think he was like the head of their business division.
Yes, that's
so
right.
Them going ahead and embracing Microsoft at this point, especially after that whole burning platform memo that Elop put out there, it seems like an interesting idea. But even more interesting, I think, is that Nokia is actually going to have the ability to customize Windows Phone 7 when no other manufacturer is allowed to do that. So I don't think they probably will change anything, but they will have this opportunity. But what I'm really curious about is is Nokia going to start playing the subsidy game? They have not been very popular in the United States the past couple of years. Symbian has pretty much tanked them here, and the fact they will not subsidize the phones, nobody wants to buy a $600 phone. Do you think this is going to make a difference?
I think it will help Nokia in the United States because Windows has the relationships with the carriers that Nokia doesn't. Nokia could not get any of the carriers to agree to the subsidy that they wanted. They couldn't work it out. So whenever you wanted to buy a Nokia, like remember the N95? Everybody was all crazy about the N95, but you had to buy it unlocked without a subsidy. I think Microsoft will be able to smooth over those waters. Microsoft has relationships with the carriers that will help them there. The question is, on the other side of the Atlantic, where Nokia is extremely popular and Symbian is extremely popular, are Europeans and people in other parts of the world where Nokia feature phones are prevalent going to want to make a transition to a Nokia phone that has Windows Phone 7 on it? And that's a question of whether the hardware is good enough.
Well, Microsoft certainly hopes so. I mean, I think this is like Microsoft's the company here that's like, yay, here we go.
Yeah.
This might open us up to a whole new market. I mean, in the U.S., arguably it's floating, but it's not a hit. And in Europe, Symbian is the norm for a lot of folks. And I think Microsoft is, if they can pull this off, it's a really smart move.
I wonder if they'll offer any emulation kind of style thing to keep the OV store running, or like they have to be cross-platform compatible, because if OV is going to work with Windows Phone 7, at least you'll still have the same applications. You'll still be able to kind of, it'll be a smoother transition versus going, okay, this is a hard line.
That would be really,
maybe that's what,
yeah, that would
maybe
be
that's
really
what Nokia can do to customize Windows Phone 7, is to make this a very seamless kind of bridge between the two technologies. But Nokia's got some really cool hardware too, so like I'm kind of excited to see Windows Phone 7 on even cooler hardware. Although,
I mean, the problem with the N95, N97, that line was the specs were great. You had these, at the time, 5-megapixel camera was, when the N95 came out, was amazing, right? And everybody got really excited, and then you'd get the phone, and it was just kind of clunky. Do you think that's because of the user interface or because of the hardware design?
I'm going to always blame Symbian. I mean, they've been behind in a really, for a very long time, and I know that Europe really loves it, but it's just not as simple as something like iOS or Android or WebOS. I think that Nokia's hardware, it's their flagship stuff's usually pretty good. So I'm going to blame the software.
Now, Sarah, we talked to her yesterday about how they had Vic Gundotra from Google had tweeted that this was two turkeys getting together, and two turkeys does not an eagle make.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Stephen Elop got wind of this tweet, of course. It turned there was another tweet by someone by the name of Shro, who said, two turkeys don't make an eagle. This was in response to the turkey tweet, the original one. Two turkeys don't make an eagle, but at least the consumer will have more choice for the menu as Nokia goes Windows. Stephen Elop replied to this tweet saying, or this, two bicycle makers from Dayton, Ohio, one day decided to fly. And then hashtag no Microsoft. So they're the Wright brothers.
They are now the Wright. Steve Ballmer and Stephen Elop, the two Stevens, are the Wright brothers.
The Steve brothers.
Do you think that this is a play to merge Nokia into Microsoft? And it is too big to do all in one go, so they start this way with a very tight partnership to see how it works.
Well, I think that the tweet can be read as kind of like a snarky response, but also a hint as to what their really big plan is. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's funny, in an Engadget article, there was a comment from someone named Bill Simmerly. He made a good point. He said, yeah, but the Wright brothers were good bicycle makers that were actually selling bicycles before their plane, so this analogy really doesn't work. Two wrongs don't make a right. Now, if anyone says, well, wait a second, I mean, Nokia Simian is doing very well overseas, but, you know...
Not in the smartphone space.
Well, clearly Nokia is also trying to get back into the American space.
Yeah.
And he's making an American analogy.
Yeah.
To a very
but
monumental invention.
Do they risk getting into the American space and lose the rest of the world? I mean, I think in the end, this could be very good for Microsoft and not Nokia.
I still think the Windows Phone platform is a good one. I just don't think enough folks here care.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it has legs. I don't know. I don't know if it's asking too much of somebody to just say, hey, you've been very used to this other system you've been using for years. You're very comfortable with it. Try something totally different. Because Windows Phone kind of confuses me a little bit, but I like the way it works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Microsoft is willing to like draw the line with Windows Mobile and Windows Phone 7. So, I mean, they're not going to have a problem with this. And if Nokia, especially the head of Nokia, has got that kind of same Microsoft mentality, maybe he's just fine with drawing that line and saying, look, guys, this is the way it was. I mean, they have the problem they have is this giant market share. I mean, Apple used to do this all the time. They're like, you know what? You guys, you're not supporting anymore, but this is the future, and this is how it's going to be. But to be at such a large market share, I'm expecting those phones are going to just run out of steam. They're going to stick to Windows Phone 7. I don't see the two companies joining together because Microsoft already has a hardware division when it came to phones, and that didn't go so well.
You're talking about Danger, yeah.
And they made the Kin, and that was a disaster.
Danger is a much smaller maker than Nokia. Nokia has made some pretty fine hardware before, so
that's why more proven. That's why I think if they're still separate, that's why they'll succeed. Because once you have all that interdepartmental mess that Microsoft has, like why the Kin was a failure was because of the hatred they had with the Windows Phone 7 team. They had this huge fight between these two departments. Versus keeping it completely separate, you'll actually have the ability to succeed because Nokia is a separate company.
Right. I think they're friends with benefits. That's what this is not a marriage. This is just, you know what? You and I, we're too old to get married.
So
nobody's a suitor anymore. We're past our prime. Let's just hang out.
Oh wait, okay.
I mean,
could be that
20,000-ish. I mean, that was the estimated number of how many people could possibly be laid off. Let's not forget how big of a number that is, particularly within Finland.
Yeah.
The Minister for Economic Affairs said, we're talking about far and away the biggest process of structural change that Finland has ever seen in the new technology sector. It's a big deal. I can imagine people over there are really angry today.
Well, yeah,
even if they kind of knew this was going to happen.
Thousands of workers in Finland walked out today as a sort of a protest against the announcement, although in a very Finnish style, they used their flex time.
So they didn't just walk off the job.
So they didn't risk getting fired.
They said,
hey, we might get laid off.
Personal day.
Yeah. I'd like to get a personal day. I need to go drink some Kosken Korva.
They didn't storm off so much as they politely requested to leave.
How many of those 1,500 men and women are still at a bar somewhere drinking some of the finest Finlandia?
They might have just taken some Salmari home with them and snuggled up in a corner with the bottle, having their own Liquid Friday.
Or just a wheat beer.
Here's to you, Nokia employee.
Nokia employees.
Best of luck.
Good luck to you.
Windows development might be a good hobby.
I hope it works out for them. Yeah. All right. Let's. There is other news, right? Isn't there?
Of course. There is one other.
Let's talk about phones.
iPhone rumors.
Right.
And there's nothing else.
The iPhone's going to get smaller. This actually isn't a new rumor, right?
Small. Yeah, I've heard this one before.
Well, there's your I've never heard of that blog rumor. Mm-hmm. Then there's the sort of, 9 to 5 Mac, Cult of Mac, Mac rumors, Boy Genius Report rumor. It's like, okay, that's starting to get a little, that could be true. Then there's the Engadget, TechCrunch rumor. It's like, oh, okay, they got some sources.
And there's Wall Street Journal.
Then there's Business Week.
Bloomberg.
Yeah. Business Week Bloomberg reporting Apple working on an iPhone that's a third smaller. Well, now it's true.
Obviously.
Or they would
wouldn't
never print
risk their reputations to print something that wasn't going to be fact.
Business Week reporting Apple working on a third smaller iPhone would sell for $200 without subsidy or contract.
Well, I love the idea of that, but iPhone, okay, iPod Nano is one thing, but iPhone Nano, I mean,
Well,
is there really enough screen?
That's just slang.
They're not, so Nano refers to a smaller version of the iPhone,
Right.
not a Nano that just,
Right. Oh, no.
not the Nano as we know it.
It would not be the same size as the Nano. It
a
just
little USB
yeah.
stick looking Nano.
It would just be a third smaller. So just take 2/3 of the iPhone, and that's what they're saying.
Maybe they're
You
making
could
a
fit,
flip
you could
phone.
fit a dialer on there, couldn't
But
you?
it's like, okay, so it's cheaper because they save on parts.
Mm-hmm.
But is it really
Yeah.
desirable to? I mean, the price tag. But is it like what does the smaller part give you?
Well, I see them. Okay, so you pair this rumor up with another rumor that Apple was trying to develop a way to swap SIM cards without having to take the SIM card out.
Right.
And suddenly you've got the everywhere phone. It's small, it's portable. You can use it on any carrier. Want to be on Virgin 1 month? Great. Switch to Verizon the next month because it's got CDMA in there too because of the Qualcomm chip.
I would love that.
And it's just like the Flexi phone.
Yeah.
The iFlex.
right.
I don't know. Verizon's like pretty specific that when you actually join their network, it's got to check the serial number to make sure it works. I wouldn't expect Verizon to work, but T-Mobile, AT&T, that kind of stuff, maybe that would work. I keep seeing this rumor. What bothers me about it is that if this screen is smaller, and unless it has the same amount of resolution, it's going to mess up the way applications look on the thing. And Apple isn't the kind of company that's like, yeah, we'll have an inconsistent user experience from phone to phone, especially something with the iPhone branding on it.
No, they'll just 2/3 pixel everything.
You think that'll work? They'll just squeeze everything, or like they're gonna have a super? I don't think this is gonna come to the market. I mean, $200. I mean, don't they already have like they always keep the generation behind? So at that cheap price point, and I think one of the reasoning behind this was to counteract some of the Android phones out there that are so cheap. I mean, they have the iPod Touch out there. I don't know if they would they just soup it up by adding a little antenna in there?
Is it possible that it wouldn't be an app experience phone? That they'd have their clock app and their calculator app and a few
yeah, that's what I was
Apple,
wondering.
Apple native
where
apps.
the Nano has apps,
Right.
But the
it's not
iPod
the kind
Nano
of thing
you
that
can't
Yeah, it's not
load up a
nano
bunch
in
of
size
apps.
necessarily, but nano in capability.
in lockdown. Yeah, that's actually very possible. That's
That's a really sad,
But, that's-
horrible idea.
That's an interesting direction for them to go when their entire experience is built around their ecosystem and being able to sell you on all those things. Why would they kind of cut themselves off at the knees like that?
They'll end up putting the
because they
click
can
wheel
sell
back.
it for $200 unsubsidized and get all the money themselves.
And then they don't have
But then their money ends there.
And then
But
they don't
they make
have
most
to
of their money off
worry
hardware.
about how to make the app experience good on a smaller phone.
Right, and they
They
like
just
to control
don't
that
let you do it
experience.
at all.
Maybe they're working on a watch phone.
Right, the Nano
That's
is
the
just
Nano.
a prototype.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're
Kickstarter
working
did
on.
it.
All right, let's take a break and thank our sponsor, Mailroute, mailroute.info. If you would like to get rid of spam and viruses, you're probably like everyone else on the planet. Even spammers, even people who send spam don't want to get spam. I would bet that spammers would like to sign up for mailroute.info. Mailroute is made by Tom Johnson. He helped he created the software that was sold to Microsoft that made FrontBridge, if you're familiar with that, and he started his own company that gets rid of spam. I've tried it. It works. It can take the spam out of your account. All you do is you edit your MX record so that your mail gets routed to them. They take out all the bad stuff and send you the good stuff. No false positives, although they do have a bank if you're worried about it and you want to check it and see, but there won't be anything in there. So go try it out for free. Mailroute.info is the address for TWiT listeners. That gives you 10% off the lifetime of your account, or you can sign up right away for $2 per user per month for small businesses, or because of the amazing demand of TWiT listeners, they have individual accounts now for $30 per user per year. But just go to mailroute.info and give it a shot. If you or someone you know can edit your MX record for your domain-hosted email, you can take advantage of Mailroute at mailroute.info. We thank them for their support. Obviously, the biggest news in the world as we're recording this today is Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt, leaving to go to the Red Sea and handing over power to the military. So there are tons of stories out there about the internet and what effect did it actually have, if any, on the revolution. Wael Ghonim is probably the most legitimate tech story out of this. He was the marketing marketing manager from Google, who went on a leave of absence to join the protests, was one of the administrators of the We Are All Khaled Saeed Facebook page, which rallied many people together. And
then was detained for some
And then
time.
he was detained for 12 days, right?
Yeah.
Blindfolded, released from jail a couple days ago. He gave an interview today and thanked Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, you know, it was on CNN, and which I happened to be watching. I was watching CNN and also reading my Twitter feed, which is it's like two different worlds, kind of. But yeah, I heard the interview, and it was interesting that he does work for Google. Not that I mean, that's not really what the point of his activism is about, but he does. And he went on to thank Facebook for helping him be able to rally so many people around this cause, and then kind of said, and thanks to Mark Zuckerberg, and the CNN folks said, oh yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Yeah, Facebook, because that's, you know, oh, Mark Zuckerberg,
We've
yeah,
seen
from
the social
movie.
network. Yeah.
And then he said, yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, give me a call. And it's funny, for the next few minutes on CNN, they dropped the Zuckerberg name several more times just because
Right.
it's like, Mark
They're
Zuckerberg.
like, buzzword.
And thanks again to Mark Zuckerberg. The Egyptian people thank Mark Zuckerberg. It's like, wait a second.
I don't think that's what Ghanim meant.
No.
But I do think that it is quite risky for a Google employee who is on leave of absence, who is in a position where in most companies he probably would have been fired because he's taking a political stand, which most companies are not comfortable with, and then to thank and ask the direct competitor who has been known to hire away Google engineers en masse recently, hey, give me a call.
Right.
You know, I might be looking for a job soon. Just saying.
Mark Zuckerberg, thank you for everything.
You've made it all possible.
Wow, I think it might be a better fit, though. I mean, social networking, he had the Facebook page. I mean, you couldn't use Orkut. This would not have worked with Orkut at all.
Now, this does bring up the legitimate question of how much did the internet really have an effect on this revolution? And we're not going to answer that here. But the one thing I want to say is we hear people say, like, oh, the internet has changed the way this can happen, and it changed the world. And the fact of the matter is, with the internet shut off for a week, the revolution continued just fine. They figured out ways around it. So that's not true. The internet did not make the revolution possible. At the same time, a lot of people have a backlash against that and say, well, the internet had nothing to do with it. And that's not true either. No. The Facebook page, We Are All Khaled Saeed, had a huge effect on sending out information and getting people interested and getting people passionate. So the answer is somewhere in the middle, whereas it did have an effect. It was another tool of communication. I read something earlier today about comparing it to pamphlets in the United States Revolution in the 1700s, where pamphlets were handed out to spread the word. Did pamphlets cause the revolution? No. Could they have done the revolution without pamphlets? Yeah.
It's a way to disseminate information.
Exactly. It's a way.
And we have wonderful tools to get the word out. If people want to get the word out, they can get the word out fast, and they can spread the word far and wide. However, you can't. I mean, a Facebook page isn't going to plant an idea in somebody's head. It's going to tell them where everyone's going to be at 9 a.m. the next day.
Yeah.
And effectively catalyzed the whole thing. I mean, everything went faster because of it.
And they can find other ways of finding out that information, but this speeds it up, makes it more efficient.
It does.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Just a side note, I posted a picture on Twitter this morning of my mom's local newspaper. It's the Sonoma County newspaper, which also covers the Petaluma area. And the headline was, Mubarak refuses to step down. And it was sitting on her kitchen table, you know, as we're watching the crowds celebrating him stepping down.
Yeah.
So I took a picture. Thought, so there you go.
That media does not update.
Right.
Yeah.
A startup run by Moxie Marlinspike, security researcher, a lot of people in our audience probably know, just released an encrypted calling and text messaging app into Egypt to help keep protesters safe from surveillance. And by the way, just because power has been handed over to the military, it doesn't mean the protest is over or that the threat is necessarily over. It's reduced, certainly, and they got what they asked for, but the work is not done. So this could still be useful to have a way to make safe, secure phone calls thanks to Whisper Systems. The problem is this is only available for Android phones. And
it turns out that Android, the Android platform, only holds about a 3% market share in Egypt. You know who has about 91%, the vast majority? Nokia
Symbian phones, right? Because they are still the dominant phone in the world. That makes total sense. So and Symbian's open source. Maybe they could have, I don't know, made a Symbian app. Maybe, and they actually do say that they're working on other versions of the app as well. Android was the first one they got out. All right, let's move on to another Google story, but of an entirely different note. I take that back. I take that immediately back. I'm not calling Revolution in Egypt a Google story. I was thinking of Wael Ghanim because he's a Google employee. I
understood, but it's good to clarify.
MPEG LA is the organization that licenses out H.264. So H.264 infringes on a lot of people's patents, but instead of having a big patent war, they all pooled the patents together and created this organization, MPEG LA, to license it so people can use H.264, and that's why you get QuickTime movies. They've started a VP8 patent pool. VP8 is also known as WebM. That is the video codec owned by Google. And Google has said we're open sourcing WebM as an alternative to H.264 that is patent unencumbered, which means anybody can use it and not be worried about patents.
So the H.264 folks, in essence, are patenting Google's V8.
They're not patenting it. What they're saying is, we're going to start a patent pool. Anyone out there who thinks VP8 infringes on one of their patents, contact us. We will put you in the pool, and once we get everyone together, then we will start issuing a license for VP8.
Doesn't Google have the patent on V8, so that's why it was like unencumbered?
Google says they have all of the patents on VP8. But other people say that VP8 infringes on non-Google patents. And so this is an attempt for all of those people to get together and take on Google.
Why can Google just join the pool?
They could, but actually what Google wants to do is make it free. What MPEG LA wants to
be open source.
Yeah, what MPEG LA wants to do is charge people for it.
Well, so what does Google do then? I mean, I understand this is like a weird pot kettle black type of dilemma. So what does Google do? What's their move?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Usually with patent wars, the way it works is I've got tons of patents. So if you try to sue me, I'm going to say sue you. This is a way to get around that. First of all, Google doesn't have enough patents. They are notoriously patent poor. So they don't have enough oomph to come back. And if MPEG LA gets all of the patent holders who think they have infringing content, then instead of them going after Google one after the other, Google has deep pockets, right? They can fight one after the other in court and maybe win. But if everybody comes at them together, then it becomes a bigger deal for Google. So they either have to negotiate with MPEG LA on this and pay MPEG LA the license money and then continue to open source it, or they have to fight MPEG LA in court and invalidate any claimed patents.
Well, if VP8 is indeed patented by Google, then what do they have to worry about?
That is exactly what's going on here. Is Google has been saying, like, there are no patent problems. Other people have been saying, there are patent problems. And this is where it all comes down. This is the showdown.
So lawyers get paid if Google wants to fight, and nobody wants to take it down that road.
This is really good lawyering stuff. Yeah.
I mean, this is a toughie. It's like, okay, everyone put their patents on the table. Who's got a patent here? Raise your hand.
Well, it could be that nobody shows up and says, I have a patent, because no one wants to risk Google's wrath. But I don't think MPEG LA would start this patent pool if they didn't already know that a few people are like, oh, yeah, I'm in. If you start that, I will come.
Well, this is going to start a long, drawn-out process that I'm sure we could listen to on This Week in Law.
In 5 years on TNT, we will tell you the outcome of that lawsuit.
Yeah, when it's all settled out of court.
All right, Sony is saying that they might pull themselves out of iTunes. Michael Ephraim, chief executive of Sony Computer Entertainment, was speaking to Australia's The Age about the launch of their product, Music Unlimited. Sony is doing something called Music Unlimited in Australia. He said, if we get mass take-up, we have to provide iTunes with music right now, but if we do get mass take-up, then does Sony Music need to provide content to iTunes? He said publishers are being held ransom by Apple, and they are looking for other delivery systems and are waiting to see what the next 3 to 5 years will hold. So he didn't outright say we would yank our stuff from iTunes, but he just said, would we need to provide it?
And is he just talking about iTunes Australia?
No, he's talking about it.
He's talking about iTunes. I mean, I think...
Well, who knows what he's saying.
On the surface, this sounds like just a bunch of horse pucky. Like, you're not going to take Sony music off of iTunes.
Well,
if you want people to buy your music.
Music Unlimited is not going to run iTunes out of business and get mass adoption either.
It's just it's kind of a silly thing to say. But I guess you have to give quotes to publications such as The Age to make it sound like you're very confident.
Well, and also helps in your negotiations with iTunes later.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Apple they shut down one of Sony's e-reader products where Sony get a cut of the money. It actually worked the way the Amazon bookstore did, where Amazon got all the money. Sony would get all the money on their e-reader products. This could just be leverage. Like, they're just like, look, you know what? If you're going to shut down our app, we'll just take out our stuff, and they'll probably just smooth it over. I mean, the last time I think a company pulled something out like this was like Universal. They took out all of NBC's content, and they were back in a year. Yeah. So
I remember that. Yeah. It is kind of a lame response. If this is their response to the e-reader app getting pulled. Like, oh, yeah, you're going to pull our app? Well, we're going to make a vague
maybe we're not going to
question
use iTunes
in an Australian newspaper.
Nah.
They could be testing to see if there's any interest in their actual marketplace. Because if everyone's like, that's a great idea, but nobody's like, oh, I want to install proprietary Sony software so I can attach it to my iPod. Nobody wants to do that.
What's wrong with that? That sounds like a winner to me.
Because then everybody will do it. But you have to have 6 different applications for each.
And then it's 1999 all over again. Right. On to the news fuse. George Hotz, the man who released code to let people hack their PS3s to play pirated games and run other operating systems, has to turn over his computers to Sony, according to a federal court in California. Sony also wanted information, as we mentioned earlier this week, about any person who commented on Hotz's YouTube videos and info on anyone Hotz was involved with on Twitter, but the court said, no, Sony, you can't get that info.
You might have noticed that Apple stock took an unexpected dip, but to the rescue came the Wall Street Journal report that Steve Jobs continues to take business meetings at home and by phone, and has also been spotted at the company's headquarters and out in public with company executives. So it's not all 30 Rock reruns and pints of ice cream, right, Wall Street? Actually, no, that was my medical leave.
You could teach Steve Jobs a thing or two.
Medical use can...
I think you did it right. Just saying.
Just ice cream makes it better.
Ice cream heals all. Chinese hackers who were incredibly sloppy still managed to steal gigabytes of data from Western energy companies, a McAfee executive said today. The attacks, which McAfee has dubbed Night Dragon and has tracked since November 2009, may have started 2 years earlier and are still occurring. McAfee declined to identify the 5 targeted firms. Maybe if McAfee sold them a product.
You don't want the Night Dragon anymore? You're going to want to buy my security software. Hitachi, that's how McAfee talks. Hitachi has announced a new 4.5-inch display capable of 1280 by 720 resolution at 329 dpi. Apple's Retina display has a resolution of 960 by 640 at 326 dpi, so Hitachi is bringing the heat. Hitachi's displays won't be available until October, which means phones are going to look great next year. We'll see a lot of these at CES, I think.
If you're an AT&T iPhone user, I've got good news, because AT&T is doing its best Oprah impression for iPhone users, such as, you get 1,000 minutes, you get 1,000 minutes, and you get 1,000 minutes! So if you're an AT&T iPhone user, you can text yes to 11113020, and then you get the rollover minutes added to your account. The downside is that you're still on the AT&T network.
Ooh.
Doesn't work.
I did get the minutes, though.
Yeah. Good.
Apple has issued a patch for the Verizon iPhone, which fixes how the iPhone reports data usage when it's in hotspot mode. Verizon charges $20 for 2 gigabytes, then $20 each additional gigabyte. So Verizon iPhone users, update your phones to iOS 4.2.6 using iTunes as soon as you can.
Amazon is pulling the plug on one of its distribution centers in Irving, Texas, because of a dispute over $269 million in sales taxes that Texas says Amazon owes. Texas's argument is simple. If you're located in Texas, you pay taxes to Texas. Texas has no income tax. This is the only way they make the money, is on sales tax. Amazon says they don't own the distribution center, but a subsidiary does, which actually looks to be a tax loophole. But Amazon is notoriously against paying tax anywhere.
No income tax in Florida as well, right? Florida, Texas, couple other states.
I'm sure.
Montana, I think.
Montana. Dr. Alex Karp, the co-founder and CEO of Palantir Technologies, which is one of 3 data intelligence firms who appear to have developed dirty trick tactics against WikiLeaks and their supporters, has severed all ties with HB Gary Federal, who led the plan, and issued an apology to Salon reporter Glenn Greenwald.
All right.
Interesting.
Finishing up with the largest touchscreen ever developed in the entire world, and it's been done by the Dutch at the University
Freaky deaky Dutch
of Groningen. Now, what are you trying to say? That people just got stoned and made a huge touchscreen?
No, I'm trying to say that
You
I've
weren't trying
seen
to say
Austin
that
Powers
at all.
Part 3.
Oh, no. This is
Six-
going to be all over television studios.
This is awesome.
6
Yeah.
HD projectors
You're right,
behind
Iyaz.
the screen produce the image. There's 16 infrared lights and 6 cameras along with 3 millimeter thick 10 by 2.8 curved acrylic screens. It can detect up to 100 simultaneous touches. Screen was developed to aid research into geographic information systems, but it does pave the way for all kinds of other things like presentations and lectures,
And creating a
museum
Fantasia moment.
displays.
How to keep a 6-year-old occupied for half
Oh,
an hour
man.
at the Science
I
Museum.
think that was the Dutch Justin Bieber there on the right side.
Do you even know who Justin Bieber is?
Huh? Yeah, he's
The Biebs.
He's a guy.
He's the Biebs.
He's a guy,
He's a guy with
thing,
hair,
you know?
yeah.
He's that thing.
Time
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
calendar.
Hey, everybody, we have an anniversary to celebrate. It's the 10th anniversary of the Kornikova worm.
Oh, I remember that fondly.
Remember the Kornikova worm? Oh, 10 long years ago.
No, I remember putting it up on the front page of TechTV.com.
Oh, tear to my eye.
No.
Kornikova worm. We hardly knew ya. Okay, so there are other things on our calendar. First, on Sunday, February 13th, AT&T is adding an extra 2 gigabytes to phone tethering plans and launching
Right.
the long-awaited mobile hotspot app. So it's good for AT&T customers, although would have been nice to have it a while ago. Samsung is going to announce dual-core
You
smartphones.
can't give them a break.
No, I'm a customer, so I'm a long-suffering AT&T customer.
Like our explanation is, oh, no. But what you don't understand is, I'm a customer.
You don't understand what I've gone through as a customer.
She's paying
I'm
to
a
complain.
customer, too.
I know. You know what it is? It's cool to diss AT&T.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
you're just
if I
being
ever
hip.
take it overboard. I'm a hipster,
You're
so
the,
you have
you're
to
the
diss
Justin
AT&T.
Bieber of dissing AT&T.
No, I'm not. You don't know anything about Justin Bieber, do you?
That doesn't make any sense, Tom.
Okay, so Samsung is going to announce dual-core smartphones, new tablets at the Mobile World Congress 2011 at 9 a.m. Pacific, which will be a 10-inch Galaxy Tab 2 with Honeycomb, perhaps.
That's the rumor.
Sony Ericsson Xperia Play is launching. Now on Monday, which is V-Day or February 14th, whichever.
Victory Day?
Well,
Victory Day.
yes, for some people. Anyway.
For love.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
It's a victory night.
Some people are celebrating World War II
V.
for victory.
Big V-Day. Valentine's Day, February 14th. It's very romantic. IBM's Watson is going to take on Jeopardy champs through Wednesday the 16th. So if you like watching computers trump humans,
Yeah, beat the crap out of humans.
then please tune in. At the Mobile World Congress, LG's press event is at 2 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be world's first 3D smartphone, LG Optimus 3D. They're going to debut. Microsoft's keynote with Steve Ballmer is at 7 a.m. Pacific time. We're not sure if we're going to cover that live or not. I'm afraid of him, so I don't know.
Yeah, he might try
I
to
wanna
beat
be
us
part of
up
that.
if we
Yeah.
don't.
Samsung's U.S. press conference is at 9 a.m. That's also Pacific. And then on February 24th is the ruling in the Assange extradition case, at least expected anyway, expected ruling. And sometime in June, and we don't know when, so I'll call it a cool June 15th, right?
The
Smack in
Ides
the
of
middle.
June.
I'm calling it at the 15th. The Sandy Bridge MacBook Air will ship.
All
You're
right.
here first, June 15th.
Yeah.
On to the voicemail, 260-TNT show. Got a call from friend of the show, Joshua Caleb. On vinyl.
Hey TNT crew, I had a thought regarding the Atrix 4G in the laptop dock. The idea is cool and all, but the problem is it's just one phone and one dock that will be obsolete in like 6 months. So why not make like a dock app for the phone or for a regular laptop? So you just plug the phone into your laptop, and then you can boot into the phone OS, like those quick boot ROMs that the laptop manufacturers have on their computers. Anyway, just a thought. Love the show.
Now, the brilliant thing about that, Joshua Caleb, is WebTop is the app for the Atrix that allows it to dock in these other things. But then they charge you outrageous amounts of money to buy the dock things, like $500 for the laptop form factor. So why not just make WebTop work with anything? You just install an app on your laptop and then have the Atrix work via WebTop to your MacBook Pro, your ThinkPad, your Dell. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well,
Joshua
this is the
Caleb
carriers
needs to
being
go into
stupid.
development.
Someone hire Joshua Caleb.
Immediately. Oh, that was
carriers.
that makes perfect sense. They just want our money.
That's right. No, Iyaz is totally right. He's shouting sense back there.
From Poughkeepsie.
All right, on to the emails. TNT@twit.tv. Curtis B. Wrote in with the link, says, obviously, this story is at least as important as the Nokia Microsoft announcement. Dogs are sexier than smartphones, according to Retrievio.com. Retrievio does surveys.
It's not Retrievio, it's Retrievo.
Oh, it's Retrievo, sorry. Retrievo.com. More women under 35 say they are more attracted to someone walking a dog than someone using a cool phone.
Don't you think it's weird that a company called Retrievo says that dogs are sexier than smartphones?
I wonder which kinds of dogs they think are the sexiest. Maybe
Retrieviers?
Retrievers.
What if the dogs are using smartphones? Do they become like super sexy?
Yeah, well...
No, it's null at that point.
If
just like zeros out?
Yeah, it reduces.
Actually, a dog with a smartphone is not sexy at all. Only without one. Okay, email from Luis in Murrieta, California. Hey, TT crew, on episode 177, you discussed the cloud phone by Inc. dubbed the Facebook phone, and my problem with this phone is, why do they keep meddling with Android to a point that it loses its true nature? They're mutating the interface and skinning into another morphed Frankenstein phone, kind of like the Frankenstein, young Frankenstein phone, kind of like the Touch Wiz 3.0 on Samsung phones. I personally like some skins because they enhance the Android experience, like HTC Sense, but some companies tweak their interface to the extreme, like Samsung and Sony Ericsson. Well, he's got a point. If you're going to have to like the interface.
Yeah, what's funny about his point is like, well, HTC does a good job, and I think that's what's good about the Android openness is that manufacturers can try this stuff. They're allowed to do it, and sometimes it's not going to work, and sometimes it is. So you're pointing out, Luis, exactly what's good about this, which is, hey, HTC got it right, so I can buy an HTC phone and vote with my wallet. Versus, don't go buy the INQ phone.
Yeah,
just
a simple thing.
Yeah.
If you hate something, don't pay for it.
It's a bunch
just
of
let
little
it go.
niche phones.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to buy the Ink phone then if they hate it. So then there you go. Now, Luis, the market will correct this. Don't worry about it.
If Android were saying everyone has to do this, then I'd have a problem with it. But because everybody can use Android and do what they want with it.
But Apple does that, and you have an iPhone.
Although everybody can't use Android and do what they want because Google says, well, if you want to get our branded apps and put Google on it, you have to do certain things. But you can say, no, I don't want that stuff. There's only pressures on you. iPhone says, we make the hardware and the software and the App Store, and you play by our rules or you leave.
And we all have iPhones. So.
Lots of people have iPhones. Actually, we all have Symbian phones.
No, we don't.
In the world, we do. Which we are you talking to?
The people in this room.
We the people.
We have a droid.
Oh, you do?
I have a droid, yeah.
Droid.
Yeah,
What do you
I
say?
don't say that
Thumbs?
anymore, but I do have that.
What weapon do you carry, Iyaz?
I carry an iPod Touch
You don't have a
and a
phone?
MiFi and a MiFi and Skype. That's about it.
Really?
You don't use a cell phone at all.
Why have
I
we
borrow
not
cell
talked about
phones
this before?
when I need to really talk
I
to
had
somebody.
no idea.
I am the weird person with the iPod MiFi combo, which also means I have a battery backup because they both die very fast.
You know what's funny, Iyaz, is that you're just pushing me that much closer to doing the same thing. I hate phones. I prefer not to be
same here.
available when someone calls. So it's like my iPhone is everything I love about the iPhone has nothing to do with the phone. The phone
And
is
the
like the
jokes are-
last thing I want.
The jokes are simple, but everyone's like, oh, AT&T doesn't have calls anyway. Like, I don't really care about the phone calls either. I don't want a voice call. And if I want to, I have an office phone. I can get a landline. There's always somebody who has one around, so I don't need one.
I just carry a landline.
Just a really long.
You carry a rotary phone.
dial phone.
Yeah.
that I just.
Good thing you don't leave the house that often.
Hi, it's really hard to find an extension cord that can get me up to Petaluma.
I've stopped asking Tom if I could borrow his phone because it's just weird.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Well, how is he always calling you asking for my phone number then?
Payphone.
Oh, one of those.
Borrowing Iyaz's iPod and MiFi.
My iPod, yep.
Hey, can I use your Skype account? I need to call Sarah.
Thanks to Iyaz Akhtar for being on the show today. Let folks know where they can find This Old Nerd and your work on PC Mag and all of that stuff.
You could go to those sites, thisoldnerd.com or PCMag.com. But we actually did an episode about the iPod Touch and MiFi, and we're going to be updating that pretty soon at thisoldnerd.com. We're going to have episodes this week, next week, and more so.
That's it for our Friday edition of Tech News Today. Hopefully that holds you through the weekend. We will have some details about our South by Southwest meetup. Look on Twitter. The details may have been linked, but they will be official by Monday. Twit.tv/TNT is the place to find our website. You can give us a call at 260-TNT-SHOW or email us TNT@twit.tv and just say, hey, I just wanted to say hey. Or you can say something better than that. We might read it on the show. Talk to you Monday.